day before Thanksgiving. And a butcher is locking up his shop. And there is a man frantically pounding on the door. And the butcher takes pity on him and opens the door. And the man says, "Please help me. I forgot to buy the turkey and my wife will kill me." The butcher says, "Okay, let me see what I can find." And he goes into the freezer and he finds one lonely, scrawny turkey. He carries it out to the man and says, "This is what I have." And the guy says, "Don't you have something else?" And the guy said, "Well, I'll go look again." He said, "That one is just way too small." He said, "I'll go look again." So he goes back in, opens the freezer, and takes the same turkey back. And the guy says, "Well, if that's the best you can do, since it's so small, I'll take both of them." That one has absolutely nothing to do with the service, but I thought it was good. There was a little boy named Bobby, and after Thanksgiving dinner, his cousin finds him outside digging and planting in the dirt. His cousin looks at him and says, "Bobby, what are you doing?" He sees that Bobby is planting bird seed. He says, "What are you doing, Bobby?" Bobby looks at him and says, "I'm growing next year's turkey." That one sort of has something to do with the service. Today we are looking at the joy of release. This is Thanksgiving week, in case no one has noticed. And Thursday, or somewhere around that time, many of us may have the opportunity to gather with our family. Sometimes this is good, and sometimes it's not as good as it could be. But what I would like you to think about today is releasing the old stuff that's not so good. Many of us get into a way of thinking about family and friends and a way of thinking about people where we don't really want to be around them. We think they did something to us 25 years ago and they've never said they're sorry, so we still carry it around with us. Of course, they don't remember what they did and they don't know why we're angry at them. I think one of the greatest gifts anyone can give themselves is forgiveness. I found a quote from Holmes today that I had to read 4 or 5 times, and I'm still not sure I find it a comfortable quote. And maybe it didn't even make it up here, which is fine. I will paraphrase it.
That was a good one.
Holmes says that over time he had met many people who had lost, for some reason, family, friends, spouses, for whatever reason. Some of those people had passed on into a greater experience, and some others, things had happened, there was anger, there was unhealed stuff. And there was unhealed stuff about the people who had went on to the next plane of existence. But what Holmes said was, he really couldn't understand why people insisted on dragging the coffin with them. Why they continued to carry the old luggage, the old thoughts, the old beliefs, whatever it was that keeps us chained to the past, that keeps us unable to experience the joy of the present, that has us dreading walking into the room where Great Aunt Sarah is, or whatever the name is. I actually don't have a great Aunt Sarah, but many of us do. So what do we do? How can we forgive? How can we let go? How can we release whatever it is that keeps us bound and bond to the past? Do the words, just do it, have any meaning? One of the things about forgiveness that many of us forget is to forgive someone does not make them right. You can forgive anyone. You can let go of whatever that anger is, whatever that experience was. You can let it go and free yourself from the baggage, from the coffin, from those thoughts, whatever it is that you are hanging on to. But you have to do it first inside. And a lot of times when we're in the midst of this process, you think, well, why should I have to do the work? They're the ones who did the wrong thing. Just ask me, I'll tell you all about it. But we have to do the work. How many of you have ever tried to paint the outside of a house? Have you ever noticed that if you do not do the prep work, the scraping, the sanding, the primer, whatever it is, if you don't do the prep work, you end up with exactly what you had, with a coat of paint slapped on it? Unfortunately, many of us, when we do our work through these spiritual principles, and one of the same principles they teach at Unity, because principle is principle no matter what center you sit in on Sunday morning, that unless we have done the work, we end up with the same thing we had before. I heard Dr. Michael Rice, who was doing seminars in the area about 15, 20 years ago, make the comment that if you had been in 42 relationships and the same thing happened every time, you're probably the one that was the issue. He actually said, you are the issue. So we have to do our work. Just like when we prep a room or a house to paint, we have to be willing to do our work. We have to be willing to do the forgiveness work. We have to be willing to really let go of the energy, the power, whatever it is that is attached to that experience. And even more so for some of us, we have to let go of the need to be right. Because as long as I am stuck in a situation where I think my way is the only way that was right, I cannot release it. I cannot let go of the energy. I cannot let go of whatever it is. I am still attached and immersed to that response. I am still attached to that situation, to that experience. I have to be willing to let go. I have to be willing to say, yes, it is what it is, and I allow it to be so. I no longer have to be right. Bill's back there smiling a lot. But I really have let go of a lot of my need to be right. And we have to be willing to step into any situation from a space of love, from a space of oneness. We did our third leadership training yesterday, and the series was great. And the person who helped me teach it yesterday is very close to completing his licensed Unity teacher program. And he was talking about, when he had worked in teams before, the need for open, authentic, transparent, honest communication. transparent, and we need to be honest. And in order to do that, we have to forgive first. Because if we come from a space that is guarded, if we come from a space that is defined from whatever has happened to us in the past, rather than being in that present moment with that person, we cannot be open. We cannot be authentic. We cannot be transparent, and we cannot be honest. Not with the other person, and not with ourselves. The secret to forgiveness that I have found over the years is the person I need to forgive first is the one that sits right here. Until I can forgive myself for whatever I think my part was in the experience, I cannot forgive others. And in order to do that, I have to be honest with myself. And I have to be authentic before I can be honest and authentic with someone else. Before I can come from that space of love, that space of oneness, that space of wholeness that all of us are hoping to experience and knowing we will experience as time moves forward. Holmes says one of the best things a person can do would be to forgive himself of all his mistakes and do it until he finds release, or do it until we find release. We need to continue to forgive. My two favorite definitions of, my favorite definition of unforgiveness is drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. And my greatest explanation of forgiveness is you know you have truly forgiven when the event or the person can slide through your mind with no emotional attachment. And if you find yourself emotionally attached, are still having feelings, or can feel yourself tighten up and get on your high horse, for want of a better word, about an event or a situation, you need to do what Holmes said, and do it until you find the release. Most of the time, forgiveness isn't a one-time deal. Jesus said to forgive 70 times 7. And that doesn't mean a specific number of times you to forgive. It means that you forgive for as long as it takes. And you continue to forgive for as long as it takes. You forgive until that time when you feel the release, when that event or that person no longer moves through your mind and you're immediately back into those feelings or that fear or see the scene of whatever it was that you need to forgive around. Marianne Williamson says in one of her books that just because you forgive someone does not mean you have to have dinner with them. You can forgive someone and know that they no longer have an active part in your life. You can forgive someone and let go of the energy around them and not see them anymore. But you're no longer attached to them. You no longer have all your energy connected to who they are and what they did to you. I talked a couple of weeks ago about the 4 kingdoms of consciousness. And the first one is that things happen to us. And it's like we're walking around in the dark with our eyes closed and all sorts of crap continues to happen to us. Until we move into the second kingdom, which is that things happen by us. That we are in charge of our lives, and that what we think and what we know and what we do is what manifests in our lives. And if you don't like what's going on in your life, change it. And one of the best ways to change it is to forgive, to release whatever it was that keeps you attached to that idea, that keeps you attached to that feeling, that keeps you attached to that response. If you wake up every morning before you walk out the door to go to work and think, my boss hates me, they don't appreciate me, and life, excuse me, sucks, what shows up in your life? They don't appreciate you. They don't like you. And life is not fun. If you make a choice, especially if you find yourself going down that stream of thoughts I just stated, to say, wait a minute, I want to experience something different. I want to experience a life and a job and employment where they appreciate me, where my opinions are valued, and life is wonderful. What if you got up in the morning and said, life is wonderful. It is working through and as me in this moment, and it is revealing the magnificence of the universe right now. Do you think when you walked out the door you would have a little different attitude towards what was going to happen? Do you think you might have a better opportunity to experience an awesome, wonderful day where people really listened to you and valued what you said? It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. And it goes very well with what we're doing on December the 22nd and celebrating Birth 2012. It's celebrating a new experience of humanity and a world that works for everyone, a world that works for each one of us, a world that works for the people 3 blocks from here and 300 miles and 3,000 miles from here. A world that works for all of us. And I believe that in order to create a world that works for every single one of us, we start right here. We start by this heart that beats in our own chest. And we acknowledge the love, the light, the joy, the peace, the wisdom, the oneness, the wholeness that is the truth of who we are. And we release the fear. We release the belief in limitation, lack, evil, whatever it is that keeps you stuck in this moment. You let it go. And when that idea shows up in your head, you affirm the opposite of it. If you are seeing evil for whatever it looks like, you affirm the good of the universe. You affirm the good of humanity. You affirm the good of your great Aunt Sarah, or whoever is showing up in your life in that moment that you see as lack, limitation, whatever it is. You affirm that you know in this moment, God is working for and as me. I am love, light, joy, peace, wisdom, oneness, wholeness. I am God knowing God in this moment. As Holmes says, there is only one life. That life is God's life, that life is perfect, and that life is my life now. If God's life is perfect, and God's life is my life is perfect. I release anything that limits me from seeing the perfection of who I am. I release anything that keeps me from knowing love, light, joy, peace, wisdom, wholeness, oneness, whatever it is. Wednesday night, one of the things that Jeffrey will be reading is a sermon done for Thanksgiving in 1949. Some of us may have been around this, some of us weren't. Some of us may have been so young that we wouldn't have understood what he said anyway. In fact, most of us would have been. But I wanted to read a practice that he suggests we all do every day. And when I read this, I thought, this is a good preparation for Birth 2012. because it is blessing everyone. It is knowing love for everyone. It is knowing peace for everyone. So we're going to use this to start our meditation. So if you would like to sit quietly and get comfortable in your chair, I will read what it said. And I will start it with, there is only one life. This life is God's life. This life is perfect. This life is my life now. And Holmes says to take some time each day to say, I bless every member of my family. I bless my husband. I bless my wife. I bless my children. I bless my partner. I bless everything that they are doing. I bless their gifts. I bless who they are and how they show up in this world. I bless my friends. I bless them for being there and knowing who they are. Now breathe deeply. I bless my country and I bless its leaders. And I know that they are absolutely divinely guided in the choices they make in governing this country. And I know, as I move off of the script, I know that right where our country is, that these leaders understand the power of communication, the power of consensus, the power of creating and allowing to unfold a country that works for and as each one of us and for and as every being in this country and on this planet. I know that in this moment, something shifts and we work together to see this be revealed. And I know that each one of us that have a business, a community, whatever it is, that we also bless that company. We bless the company that we work for. We bless the companies that provide us goods and services. We bless every being on this planet. We bless our customers. We bless our congregations. We bless the people driving down the street in front of our building. We bless everyone we work with and every life they touch. And as we continue blessing, we also bless ourselves. I know for and as each of us that we are the divine, knowing the divine. And when we look in the mirror, we see that divine oneness that is the truth of who we are, as we know God works for us by working through us. And we remember that there is only one life. That life is God. This life is God's life. And this life is my life. And this life is perfect. And if my life is God's life, and it is perfect, I am perfect. I do my absolute best in every moment. And I know I did my best. And knowing that I am human, I know that in later I may find that something wasn't quite as perfect as I wanted it to be. But I know I did my best in that moment and what I knew in that moment. We celebrate life. We celebrate spirit. We celebrate this community. We celebrate Garden Park Unity. We celebrate every person on this planet. And know God is here and now, through and as each one of us. As we leave here today, we see the power of God in every person we come in contact with. We give thanks for it, we celebrate it, and we know that it is good. And in gratitude and thanksgiving, I lovingly release these words to Spirit, as together we say, and so it is, and so it is.